Howdy folks, I'm Dan Gross for the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight and Three Heads Brewing. Today I'm sitting down with Sam Snyder, the Rochester resident for October, playing a different concert each Thursday. Sam is a multi-talented instrumentalist, which he demonstrated in the opening in this video, and he's got a little bit of an unusual technique, and of course we will talk about that. Plus, he's a talented songwriter and a great dude. We're hanging out at his place today, so Sam, thank you so much for your time today, man. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
So, let's start off nice and easy. Are you a Rochester native?
Yeah. I grew up in Ontario, so I was born in Florida, but I moved here soon after we grew up here. So.
Got it. I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, lived there for 1 year, and then we came here.
Yeah.
I know. Isn't that fun trivia?
Yeah, exactly. It's just trivia.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what kind of musical background you had? Like, when you were younger, what kind of stuff were you listening to that you would say were influences now?
I listened to all sorts of stuff, and I was kind of always listening to a lot of, like, different things, but I was listening to a lot of what my parents had going on. So, my dad listened to a lot of blues music, and my mom listened to a lot of... she was doing like dance classes and stuff, so she was listening to like Latin music, I remember a lot. And my grandpa was a really great musician, and he wrote a book on like playing all the woodwind instruments. So I always had like jazz kind of going around when I was a kid for that. And then my uncle, I'm very close with, is like it's really funny for me to think about him because he was in like a country punk band and was in like one of like a really cool like kind of psychedelic jam band in the late 60s in Rochester, and but his band, all of his bands like went on to do like really like cool things. So it was so I kind of had it from like in my family, like everybody was playing. My brother listens to a lot of metal,
right?
But for me personally, like I was always like really big and like I loved like all that classic rock stuff, like Zeppelin and Hendrix and Cream and Allman Brothers and
yeah. And now if you ever find yourself in the deep depths of YouTube, and I don't suggest you go there, but there are like 14-year-olds who like listen to Led Zeppelin now and don't get it.
Oh, I know.
And I can't wrap my brain around it.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I don't know what it is. I was teaching guitar, and it was weird to like sometimes be like, yeah, well, it's like that Led Zeppelin song. They're like, who's that? It's like, how do you
not know Led Zeppelin? That's
or the Beatles. A lot of people like don't know Beatles tunes, and it blows my mind.
I don't even want to like touch that. That just makes me sad. So when did you start playing an instrument?
When I was like 13, I started playing guitar. My brother got a guitar, which was kind of why I got into it. We always sort of had guitars around. My uncle on my mom's side had passed away, and he had left us this Ovation acoustic, and that was kind of always floating around. My mom bought my brother and I an acoustic guitar when we were kids, and he and I like destroyed it. we put like rubber band, we like cut another sound hole into it and then put rubber bands across it to make like another guitar on it.
Oh my god.
Well, yeah, it was crazy. That thing was really cool. I could get into the science behind that thing, but you could like turn the strings on it so that, and we put like a paper or like a clip that you'd use to clip like a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And because you've spun the rubber band so many times, it would have this like back pressure on it. So if you flicked it up, it would just bounce on the strings a lot.
Wow.
And we like came up with this thing. We're like, this is so cool. And we showed it to my mom. She's like, you destroyed the guitar.
But in the meantime, you learned about life and a little bit about mechanical physics too, apparently.
Right, yeah. And like how to make music fun.
Exactly. Well, man, that's an important skill. There's some people who don't quite have that one done yet. So, you are called Overhand Sam for a reason, as you very clearly saw in the beginning of this video. I know this has been documented and codified many times over, but for spotlight purposes, why don't you tell us about the overhandness of your
I want to know what codify means.
You're cementing it. Like when you say something is codified, that means like you've written it down, it is official.
Okay. Well, I broke my arm when I was like 13, and that turned into a lot of boredom for a 13-year-old. And my brother had just gotten a guitar. He had a Squire Strat, and we didn't have an amp for a while. So me and him were kind of like just trying to learn how to play this thing. But I set it on a table because I couldn't turn my hand over because I had to cast one out past my elbow. And I put it on a table and I would just kind of play this way. And then when I got the cast off, I didn't think I was going to actually like play guitar for a living. I didn't think anything of it. So I just kept playing guitar the way I kind of knew, which was like on my lap or on the table. And then when we were when I was in like the end of middle school and high school, all my friends started making bands. So I decided I wanted to be in a band because I knew how to play guitar a little bit. So I was like, I should be able to jump in. So I just started doing that, standing up and playing, just kind of adapting it. But yeah.
So what strikes me as so interesting about this is it's not like a piano where you can look at like all the notes are there chromatically and you can like just figure out whatever voicing you want to do. Like on a guitar, the strings are tuned in a certain way where like there's a certain hand shape that's needed to get certain voicings of a chord. So for you, how did you figure out having to play like this and figure out, oh, this is how I get this chord to work? Like, what was your process of like making this technique work?
I don't see. This is a great question. Why do you play guitar that way? I'm always like, I should leave it up to interpretation. But that's a good question. I like that. I think when I look at really like any instrument, I'm looking at it like from a very, very practical standpoint, and really like. I remember early on looking at a guitar like, okay, this is the guitar. Like, if I were to strum an open chord just on the guitar, like that sounds like really bad. But why does that sound bad? Like, so what do I have to do to make that sound good?
Right.
And like, what alterations happen there? And I remember when I like first figured out. Like, oh, this note is here, and this note is here, and it's right here, and it's right there. And going, wait a minute, so if I wanted to make a C chord, like, I could play it like this, but that'd be kind of silly, because that's, like, a huge thing. But then kind of, like, tricking myself into, like, that might be cool to play something like that. Right. So I sort of just, like, came up with ways to do it. I remember my mom got me a chord book for, like, Christmas when I was, like, 14. I probably still have it somewhere, but it was like, it didn't make any sense to me at first because it was all written this way. So I had to look at that and then like figure out how to flip it over. And then some of the chords I couldn't make. So I was like, yeah, but this sounds cool. So like it was, I don't know. I don't think.
You approach it from a practical perspective. You weren't like sitting down and saying, oh, I want, the fifths at the bottom and then the third here, or like the doubled octave here. You're just trying to figure out what
That's all technical music theory terms for those of you at home. Exactly. Like I remember seeing like an A major 7 chord in that, and it was like a really huge. I don't know why anybody would put this in a book because it was literally
it's a jazz chord, bro.
But it was like I could show you the one it was. I don't even remember how exactly they did it, but it was like kind of silly. And looking at that and being like, well, I could just play like part of that and it's going to kind of like sound the same. So why not? So that's the practical thing in my head is like, okay, yeah, but like, is everybody like really doing that all the time? Because I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I think the answer is no. I think any jazz guitarist would probably just play the third and the seventh and maybe some other.
I remember really early on, so my dad played guitar too, and he played left-handed.
Right, on a right-handed guitar?
No, he plays a 12-string left-handed.
Right. Whoa.
And when I had to ask my dad for like, how do you play a B? I remember this really well. I was like, how do you play a B chord? And he goes, well, this is a C chord. And then I was trying to play the Immigrant song by Led Zeppelin, and it gets to the part where it's like the big walk up.
Right.
And it's just like not the right. That was really funny.
Or at least with your technique, you can bar a lot of chords. That's nice.
Well, that was the other thing. Like that came up real quick. Like I was like, oh, barring's easy.
Yes,
like,
it is.
Yeah.
And you can just keep doing it. So now that you have this established sound, some of the chords you do sound cool, sound a little bit funky.
Thanks.
Let's talk about like how you got into the music scene and I think, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff you do when we're breaking down the residency each week, but let's talk about you joining the music scene and how you found your way into Maybird.
Two pretty different things, I think. Because when I started playing music in Rochester, and like where the Overhand Sam thing came from was because I was doing a lot of like blues gigs. My dad knew like basically all the blues guys in town from going to see shows over at Smokin' Joe's and at the Dinosaur and at the Clarissa Room back when there was music there. So he knew those guys, so he would ask them like, is it cool if like I bring my son and he could come sit? And they were like, sure. So I was like 14 and I would like go to this bar and like sitting with these guys I didn't know, and I learned a lot from that. And that was before there was really like a lot of open jams or open mics, I feel like. So I learned a lot from that, and then was doing that super regularly to the point of like getting called to like fill in for those guys, which was kind of cool. And there was a blues guitar player in town, Too Tall, who gave me the name Overhand Sam. So that was like always the blues thing, was there's like Lightning Hopkins and people with like some first, some
epithet and then the name.
Right. So that was that. And then when I was in high school, it's a kind of convoluted story, but like at the high school there was a recording like internship program that my girlfriend at the time was doing, and I would skip school and like go to the recording studio, and I kind of met all those guys from doing that too. And what happened was one of the guys that was recording an album there was Josh Netsky, who was always like working and writing and recording songs on his own, and my really good friend Roy Stein found Josh and wanted to work on a record with him with his band, the Atomic Swindlers. So there was that record happening, and then they were like, oh, you should meet Josh. And then I did just coincidentally I was in like a 3-piece like shred fusion band when I was in high school, and that band was playing a battle of the bands at Nazareth College, and so was Josh. So we were like, oh, it's you, who I've heard about. And we just became really good friends after that, and that was in like 2007, 2008. So I've been playing with Josh since then, and we've written and played like so much together, and then that turned into Maybird eventually.
And what's that been like for you, being in a band like that was from Rochester, has gone on to do amazing things, has an awesome reception every time they play? Like, what does that mean to you to be in a band that with that kind of oomph?
I mean, I guess I don't really think much of it. Like, not in like a way that I don't respect that, but in like it's. There were things about the shows that we played really early on when we were like not still excited, but like when we were very excited about just like having a gig in Rochester, and there might have been like 5 people there. That was really special, And now it's just shifted to like, it's really special when we make a record and we go on the road. And so it's just a slightly different thing, but like, so it doesn't really feel, I don't know, it doesn't really feel any different, and it's cool because that band specifically is like a bunch of like really good friends. So we're all like pretty respectful of one another, and like it's not like it's definitely like a business, but it doesn't feel like, it just feels, ultimately at the end of the day, it's like hanging out with some of my best friends. So
can't ask for too much more, man.
No, it's the best. I mean, that's the best thing.
So let's move on to your residency. 4 weeks in the month of October, the 4th, 11th, 18th, and 25th. Those are all Thursdays and not Tuesdays. Thank you, Jeff. And let's start with week 1, Velvet Underground. Why don't you tell us about this show? It features Andaman and Matt Treadwell as well.
Yeah, so that, so Andaman.
New record in vinyl, by the way.
Has a new record out that's not out yet, but this is it. It's pretty smoking. Here you go, Jeff. So a bunch of months ago, we booked a show, and I was kind of under the mentality of every single show needs to be special. I don't want to play shows that are just like, I want it to be like there's a reason why somebody's going to come back.
Right.
Because it's not going to be the same. It's never going to be the same show twice. So for the past year, basically any of my shows particularly have not been the same songs, haven't been the same people, or whatever. But one of the shows, we booked a show and we had all this, like, we were giving like little clues ahead of time of what we were going to do. And then, when the show came, we just did all Velvet Underground songs. So we did this whole set, and it was great because some people never heard the Velvet Underground before, and then some people were like, "Oh my God, I've always wanted," like,
yeah.
Shout out to Kurt Bliss, who was like, he's like, I don't think he said he'd ever seen them before, but I could be wrong about that. But he was so excited to have seen those songs, and that was kind of the idea. I wanted to, like, that's like one of those influential bands to me that like really meant a lot, and it's like, it's cool to like really get into the brain of those songs and like think about how he wrote them and performed them and everything. So I was like, I really want to do that show with Anamon. So that's with Anna and Benson and Aaron. And then we really needed like another guitar too, because Anna was playing like bell kit on the song, and like I was hoping we would do some keyboard stuff, but I wanted to have my other friend Matt, who's in this band, Sistruti, who just put a tape out, and I recorded this, and it's really awesome. And I was in the process of doing this with him anyway, so he's a huge Velvet Underground fan too, so I knew he would want to be involved. And yeah, it was great. It was like so much fun to like hang and play with those guys, and we didn't tell anybody, so there wasn't really like a lot of people at the show. It was a good night. It was an awesome night, but like we just kind of figured at some point we would do it again, and
now you are on the Three Heads big stage,
right?
And let's go on to week 2, Mrs. HD. Lay it on us.
Mrs. HD is one of the most interesting projects I will have ever done in my whole life. So that is with my very good friend Jeff Dale, who's sitting over here out of frame. And Jeff had called me, well, I don't even know how that started, but basically Jeff had called me and said, "Hey, come to the studio like right now and let's make a record." Like there was very little planning. And we talked about doing it for a while leading up to it, but then we finally like got to the point where we were at the studio and we basically wrote all these songs. And I've told Jeff a lot, like that record was like, I felt really, really creatively on in like the like couple days that we tracked everything. And Matt Rammerman was on that, and he and I like had a lot of fun just putting like after the fact, like mixing and kind of producing some more, and Chris Meeker's on it, and like it was great. It was a great fun thing. So now that band, the irony of that band is that I would say it's probably split down the middle now with live shows that I have been able to do and haven't been able to do. So Anamon is going to be on the road promoting that vinyl. So in the time that unfortunately lined up with this residency date. So Mrs. HD is going to play that show with a very special version of me.
We cannot wait.
That it's going to be very interesting to see how we pull this off in the digital age.
We'll get it in post.
Yeah.
That's what we say here on the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight. And very simply, we've talked about it a lot, but week 3 is Maybird. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this show?
Yeah.
I love Sam, I think, is the most prepared with the visual aids of any guest I've had on the Spotlight.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, hey, I'm a visual guy. So Maybird is going to be playing... we've been working on a record. This is the last record we had, but we've been working on a full-length record, so those guys have been kind of in town, and I had wanted to do it that way anyways, but we were able to make it work out. So Anamon's going to get back from tour, and then Maybird's going to be around anyways, so we were like, let's go play a show at Jeff's house. I call it Jeff's house.
Right. Thank you to... I'm like, no, that doesn't say that on my notes at all. Well, we're gonna rock the house as Maybird always does, and it'll be cool to have. I mean, you talk about how every show is special. This will be like double level.
Yeah, and
that's special.
That it's been cool, kind of with that band having like 3 guitars and stuff. It's like we can definitely like open up a lot, you know, and it's been fun. The last handful of shows have been different and very cool.
Yeah, can shred, man.
Yeah,
Some shredding. And the final week. Now, this one we were actually talking a little bit before we went on, and some of the challenges of doing something like this. But week number 4 is the White Album.
Yeah,
by the Beatles. And what? And like we were talking about how, you know, we were surprised that no one's done a Beatles thing before because everyone knows the songs, but maybe that's why people haven't done it before, because everyone knows the songs. But what made you want to do the White Album?
well, that of what we were talking about before, like the White Album is definitely the most. I'm realizing it more as I've been learning those tunes. Is the one that's like the. If there was one record, I could probably say like, oh, if this record just turned into a human, I feel like it would be me. It's like the most meaningful record of probably of my life. But I've grown up with that album. I had it like on CD, and I remember being in school suspension and like putting it in my CD player and having my headphones like tucked in and listening to the White Album. And I remember. Like, I've got fond memories with that record from over the 25 years. You know, it's like that's like a very early record for me. Rocky Raccoon was on like a mixtape that my mom made me when I was 5.
Whoa.
You know.
So those songs been with you a long time.
Forever, yeah. So it's like way beyond even playing music. They were just really good songs that I've always like really liked. So.
Yeah. Do you know who's playing on this album?
Yeah. So my band is gonna basically be the house band for that, which is me, Benton Silic on bass, and Dennis Mariano is playing drums. And then Kurt Johnson is going to be playing guitar, who's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And we all know Kurt. He plays with Moho Collective and Maybird and Wallboards and everybody else under the sun. and then Al Murphy is gonna be playing keys.
Right.
And,
this is slowly becoming the residency house band. I love it.
Well, yeah, you know, it was one of those things. I mean, Al and I have played together in a lot of different projects over the past lot of years, and basically, I was with him the other night, and I was just talking about that show, and I was like, "You should totally play keys on this." And he's like, you know, more or less like, yeah, no, I wanted to do this actually myself.
I can see Alan saying that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, he said it. He's like, I've been wanting to do a White Album tribute too, so this works out because it's one of those things. It's like it's so many songs to take on that it's like get the people that can, you know. I really trust Al, and I really like him a lot. Yeah, and he's a trip.
Yes.
So it was
Alan's one of my favorite guys to hang around. All right, Sam, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
You got through it. Let's recap really quickly. Week 1, the 4th, Velvet Underground featuring Automon and Matt Trebo. Week 2, the 11th, Mrs. HD with a special version of Sam. You heard it here first. Week 3 on the 18th is Maybird, and then week 4 on the 25th is the White Album. Dan Gross, Sam Snyder, thank you so much for watching this Spotlight spin-off installment of the Rochester Residency with Three Heads Brewing. We hope to see you every Thursday in October.
Yep.
Candy says I've come to hate my body and all that it requires in this world. Candy says I want to know completely what others so discreetly see if I could walk away from me. Candy says I hate the quiet places that leave the smallest taste of what will be. Candy says I hate the big decisions that cause the endless revisions in my mind. I'm gonna watch the bluebirds fly over my shoulder. I'm gonna watch them pass me by. Maybe when I'm older, what do you think I'd see if I could walk away from me?